Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Thursday, the 10th day of July, 2025. I hope you're all safe and healthy today. I hope your families are safe and healthy and that the needs of you and your family in terms of food, shelter, clothing, as well as health are being met today. Blessings upon those that work in health with first responders who are out here every day in all kinds of conditions trying to save lives. Those also that pick up garbage and trash to keep our places clean, and those that make deliveries for our convenience. Double blessings on the men and women out here trying to help rescue, deliver, and recover teenagers and children that are victims of child molestation and pedophilia. Those helping people that are victims of prostitution, child prostitution, pornography, child pornography, human trafficking, and sex slavery. Double curses on the perpetrators, the profiteers, and the perverts that create the demands that cause these industries to exist. Finally, double blessings on the homeless. More than 700,000 men, women, children, families, senior citizens, and military veterans homeless in the United States of America. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. Today, I wanted to discuss, the more I look into Mike Brown, his history, and his coaching techniques, the more excited I get. Today, I wanted to talk about the new Mobbdeeep. There's other things we'll discuss. For example, yesterday, it was reported by Ian Begley that Borrego is going to remain in New Orleans. This is not because New Orleans wouldn't let him go to New York. It's because he wants to stay in New Orleans. And why is that? New Orleans is a lottery team. Why would he not want to come to a championship contender and stay with a lottery team? Number one, I mentioned yesterday, most assistant coaches want to become head coaches. And Borrego had been a head coach in Charlotte before. No doubt he wants to be that again. And last year, New Orleans has had several rough seasons, last year included, and they were in the lottery again. And Willie Glass might be on a hot seat in New Orleans. And since Borrego is the associate head coach, he would be next in line to take over. Not only that, if New Orleans can get healthy, and that's a big if because, of course, they drafted number one overall Zion Williamson. And again, when you're the number one overall pick, you are expected to lead your team to the playoffs. You expect it to be the focal point to put your team back into contention. That's why they stunk so bad, because they wanted to get the number one overall pick, and you are that guy. Zion has not been. And the reason is, of course, he's been spending a lot of time in the Anthony Ambulance School of Unavailability and spending too much time at places like Dunkin' Donuts. If they can get him to change his ways in these areas, they can again be contenders. New Orleans has a roster to contend. And what they have done is they have retooled their roster and took out some higher priced players that were good, like CJ McCollum, and replaced them with players that are young, right? Like they just drafted Micah Peavy, they just drafted Derek Queen, Jeremiah Fears. They still have DeJounte Murray, who's coming off a serious injury, Achilles. I think it was an Achilles he got last year. He had a torn Achilles tendon last year. So he's coming off a serious injury, so he wasn't tradable. Jordan Poole they just got, which is CJ McCollum light. They still got Trey Murphy, an up and coming star. And then there's Zion, and they got a nice guy at the 5, a good player at the 5, and Eve Missy. So they got Derek Queen backing them up. They went and got a veteran, Kevon Looney. They went and got a very solid Villanova player in Sadiq Bey, who's coming back from injury, looking for a new contract, and you can expect Sadiq to ball out. Then they got Jose Alvarado from the Bronx, Borrego from the Bronx, a roughneck, a tough dude, a grinder. So they put together pretty nice, and then of course, Herb Jones, all NBA defender. They put together a nice roster. So Willie Glass is not like this is a championship roster, but they can definitely get back to the playoffs, or at least the play-in, depending on the health and availability of Zion. They got rid of Brandon Ingram, who really was a tease. So James Borrego could end up coaching this team. He could, and he's got tools between really, for now, I'm going to say for now, DeJounte Murray, because I think they're going to trade him once he shows he's healthy. But you got Jeremiah Fears, a nice point guard rookie, Jordan Poole, a shooter, Trey Murphy, as I mentioned, Zion, Eve Missy, and then you got Derek Queen, Herb Jones, Sadiq. You got a nice, solid group that you can get to the play-in with if you got the right health and the right coach. So Borrego is staying in New Orleans. So what does the Knicks do now? So at this point, we mentioned earlier in this process a couple of weeks ago that they were looking for a head coach and an assistant coach, which is why they were not going to hire an assistant coach with no head coach experience as their number one coach. They were looking for an assistant behind either Taylor Jenkins or Mike Brown. And they had brought in Dawn Staley. They brought in Micah Nori. They brought in, obviously, James Borrego. These are guys they interviewed. Now, at that point, they had not made a final decision on who the head coach was. Now they have. So this can go one of two ways. Either the Knicks will hire an assistant from the group I just named. Well, Borrego's out. So that leaves Dawn Staley. I don't think she's leaving South Carolina to be an assistant with the Knicks. She might, but there's that. Then there's Micah Nori, right? He's a possibility. Or they can choose a guy based on Mike Brown's contacts. And we don't really know all of Brown's contacts. We don't. We know the guys the Knicks have interviewed, but that's the Knicks before they actually chose Mike Brown. But when he was in Sacramento, he had Jordy Fernandez as one of his coaches, who's now the coach of the Nets, so he's out. They had Jay Triano. They had Dutch Gately. They have Doug Christie, who's now the head coach. They had a guy named Lindsey Harding, Leandro Barboza, a longtime NBA player, now an assistant coach, and Luke Lux. They had all of these guys. So he has that crew he's used to working with. He also, well, not all of them, of course. He doesn't have Fernandez. He doesn't have Christie. But then there are guys he knows from being in the league forever because, he had been a head coach for a long time before. He had coached in Cleveland, and we know he coached in the Lakers. So when he was coaching in Cleveland, he had assistant coaches as well and staff, and that includes Lloyd Pierce, Melvin Hunt, Chris Gent, Michael Malone, was the head coach in Denver, and he's available. So he is going to, and Lloyd Pierce actually became a head coach in Atlanta, and he's now an assistant. I forgot which organization, but he's an assistant now in another organization. So he has worked with, my point being, Mike Brown has worked with a lot of coaches. In his first choice of James Borrego, you get a hint of what he's looking for. He's looking for an offensive mind. So he's looking for an assistant coach that can develop an offensive scheme and game plan for the talent the Knicks have. This is the thing. If you like to drive, I do. I don't like to drive as long distances as I used to. In fact, I don't at all. Matter of fact, I like driving, but if you got to have me driving more than an hour, I'm not going to go. Probably how it is, right? But I used to like to drive for hours and hours and hours. I guess because I'm getting old now. But anyway, if you like to drive and you appreciate the privilege of driving, you generally appreciate driving a nice car versus a bucket, right? And y'all know what a bucket is. So if you can get a choice and you're an experienced driver that likes driving and you can drive a Bentley. Somebody said Allen Iverson has had all kind of Bentleys. He said, listen, I'm gonna let you have this one. You could get that, or you could get a 10-year-old Chevy. What you gonna drive, right? The Knicks are the Bentley right now. They're the upper echelon. So if any offensive mind is out there, they're going to want to run that thing. You got Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson to work with. Yeah, they're going to want that. They probably got all kind of ideas how they want to run that. So there's going to be availability. I'm surprised at Borrego, but then when I look deeper into it, I can understand because of the position he's in of being a head coach soon, possibly, and having the offensive young talent he would have there in New Orleans. It's almost like his situation in Charlotte. He had a lot of young talent and he had a lot of young players and he was developing. The problem is in Charlotte, it was built around Lonzo Ball and he's never available. In New Orleans, it was built around Zion Williamson and he's never available. But if you can get Williamson to stay on the floor, then you got something there. And Borrego, even as an assistant head coach, he's probably running the offense there. You can get some things done. So with Brown, he's going to have a good stable of choices to make for his offensive guru that he could get. There's a lot of them out there, and he can pluck one. I was trying to get more information on Micah Nori to see what side of the ball he specializes in, and I couldn't really find anything specific with respect to that. So I can't tell you. I know the Knicks interviewed him for a reason though, and so we'll see how that works out. But the second thing that I liked about the situation is I have noticed as looking at Mike Brown more deeply, looking at his time as both an assistant coach and as a head coach, there are coaches that work with what they have available, and there are coaches that demand the players they have play to their style. For example, Tom Thibodeau is a coach that demands you play defense. If you don't have a reputation for playing defense and you come to play for Tom Thibodeau and you don't play defense, he's not going to play you. You can be a tremendous three-point threat, but you will just get a minute, 2 minutes when they need a three-pointer. Ask Evan Fournier. He won't be playing you regularly if you can't play no defense. So the team built in his image is going to have a rotation filled with defensive players. And even if you can't play high-level defense, you're going to put your body on the line, Jalen Brunson, to draw charges, to try to get involved defensively. So that's Tom Thibodeau. But then there are coaches that take what's given to them and will mold it to get the most out of it based on the talent available. That's Mike Brown, which is why you can see in Cleveland, he had a defense ranked top 5 twice. But in LA and in Sacramento, he did not. He had offense ranked high in Sacramento. Why? Because he had offensive players. He had Fox, Sabonis. He had offensive players, Monk. And so he will challenge guys like Fox and Monk to play high-level defense and challenge them face-to-face. And as you saw in Sacramento, that didn't work out too well. While he will use their talents that they have to get the most offense out of it, which is why they were number one offensive rating. So here in New York, he's got both. He has got, let's name the high-level defenders on the Knicks that are no question high-level defenders. Mitch Robb, OG, McCall, Hart, Deuce, Yabusele. These are high-level defenders, all of them. They'll sacrifice their bodies. They'll dive on the floor for loose balls. These guys will play some defense. Hukporti, okay? These guys focus on the defensive side of the ball. That's what they got talent. So he got defensive players. And with Karl-Anthony Towns, Jalen Brunson, he's got offensive players. Okay? So, and now Jordan Clarkson, he's got offensive players as well. So he's got both sides of the ball. So in this scenario, he would probably, which is apparently what he was trying to do by tapping James Borrego, he wants to focus on the defensive side and leave the keys to the offensive Bentley to the guy that knows how to drive it. So again, this can go one of two ways. Either they will use a Micah Nori, they will hire him, or Dawn Staley, and I know that'd be crazy, but she'd be the assistant coach. That's only if she knows the offensive schemes in the NBA. I don't know. Or Mike Brown will say, I'd like these group of guys to be chosen from. And we don't know what that group is. We will find out soon, because Mike Brown said in the conference, I can't wait to get on the court. And I believe he was telling the truth. He wasn't hyperbole there. He wants to get on the court and start getting to work and start developing the schemes he's going to use for this upcoming season. That's going to be a championship level season. That being the case. So we should be able to find out very shortly who the guy is that's coming, or lady that's coming in there. Okay. With respect to Mobbdeep, you now have Mobbdeep. So Bagley has alluded to this several times, that the Knicks are looking to pair Mitchell Robinson and Karl-Anthony Towns in the starting lineup. Makes sense. I understand. I've had several of y'all come at me and say, well, Mitch is injury prone. How are we going to do that? Mitch's injury history is not related to starting. It's related to minutes. If you play him too many minutes, you will increase the risk of injury. To mitigate the risk of injury, you play him less minutes. Again, I mentioned this before. This is now a trend in the league. I noticed it first with Diagono in OKC, because I mentioned to y'all when they drafted Chet Holmgren that he was light in the behind and that he wouldn't be able to sustain a whole season. And in fact, his first year, I think he played 50 games. But last year, he played a full season. And what they did expertly was limit his minutes. Like, when I say limit, I don't mean playing 15 minutes. I mean keeping him under 30. That's the thing. With Mitch Robb, you want to keep Mitch Robb under 30. If you can keep him in 25, 28 minutes, that will mitigate the risk injury. Because it's not starting that causes him to be an injury-prone player. It's the amount of risk. And again, I liken Mitch Robb to Marcus Camby, because it was very similar with Marcus in that it was automatic. Jeff Van Gundy was a lot like Tom Thibodeau. He wanted to play his starters a lot of minutes. Problem being, of course, if you do that with a Marcus, he's going to get hurt. And he did. If you limit, when Marcus was coming off the bench for New York, they went to the finals. That was the year 99. They went to the finals because Marcus and Sprewell were coming off the bench together, and they were destroying every team in the playoffs. Those two, okay, running together. Now, Chet Holmgren, he played 27 minutes a game this past season. He only played 32 games. He was hurt again. He played 27 minutes a game, and that caused him to be ready to go right through the playoffs, and that's one of the reasons they won it all. The year before this, I think he missed most of that year. No, he played in 82 games the year before, but played 29 minutes a game. See, 30, less than 30, and you mitigate the injury risk. This is definitely Mitchell Robinson. More so because Mitchell Robb is now a veteran and knows where he's vulnerable to injury. He knows this. So If you limit his minutes, you could start him, but keep his minutes between 25, and that shouldn't be difficult. That's not that difficult, especially if you got a Hukporti behind him. And don't, like I said, don't let James Najee come in here and act like he could play, because if he can, now you can take about, 20 minutes at least, probably 25 between Hukporti and Najee, and let McBride play 25 minutes and start and be in the fourth quarter for you. That's what will stop injury. So if they want to start McBride, that's not a problem. Starting him is not going to get him hurt. It's playing him more than 30 minutes getting him hurt. Okay? So they can, and I know Mike Brown, if I'm telling you, Mike Brown knows that. Because it's like they did it with Chet Holmgren. They start doing it with Wembanyama. Same thing. These tall, athletic, light in the behind dudes, they understand. You can start them. Don't run them in the ground, though, because they're going to get hurt. Especially over an 82-game grind. Here, you had Hukporti light in the behind. That dude might weigh 100, but 210 something? And dude played 82 games last year because they had him under 30 minutes. That's McBride. Okay? So they can start him. If they do start him, then you're going to need a Hukporti to come up behind and back him up. And new Hukporti's more than ready. We got to see Hukporti's availability. But now you got a new dynamic of Mobbdeeep. First of all, I can guarantee you, 100% guarantee you, Mike Brown's going to have 10 minutes in rotation. He's going to have 10. And then he's going to have 3 more dudes or 4 more dudes that don't appear in every game. But they're going to play 8 to 10 minutes in the 30 games they play. So, in Mobbdeeep right now, you got Gershon Yabusele. You got Ariel Hukporti. You got Deuce McBride. You got Josh Hart. Okay, that's who you got right now. And then you could either have a starter with them or Shamet. You could bring Shamet, but you're going to really have Jordan Clarkson. And this is the dynamic that's going to be something. Jordan Clarkson and Deuce McBride in the backcourt are a perfect combination in your second unit. Because now, look at this. Deuce, Yabusele, Hukporti, Josh Hart. Defenders. Jordan Clarkson, dynamo on the offensive side of the basketball. And I'm going to tell you, he's going to be putting in effort defensively this year. He's not going to play the amount of minutes he normally would have been playing in previous years because the Knicks are so deep. They don't need him to do that. But I can see him getting a good 22 minutes a game. And he's going to be very effective in them 22 minutes. And the Knicks are going to have a tremendous defense. Now, Deuce McBride becomes the captain of Mobbdeeep. And it's going to be dynamic. Him and Jordan Clarkson. And then you're going to have Shamet coming up behind him. You're going to have Kolek. I'm really rooting for Kolek. I need to see some defense. And I'm sure, I'm not saying this because I'm a coach. I'm saying this because I'm sure the Knicks need to see it too. We need to see some defense. We need to see some putting your body out there, taking a charge. We need to see you fighting through picks. We need to see some more muscularity so you're stronger and they don't just toss you aside like you a flea. You need to be tougher defensively, Mr. Kolek. If he is, he can come in and you can have him and Shamet behind Deuce and Jordan Clarkson. Okay, that would be dynamic as well. Then you still got both champs, depending on who's going to be on the roster and who's going to be in two-way contracts. You still going to have some other players there. So the Knicks, bottom line, are going to run deep this year. 10 deep, and they're going to be good. They're going to be real good. That second unit I just named is going to destroy second units in the NBA. They're going to destroy them, okay? And so, and to have a James Najee, I'm really pulling for him too because he could become an important piece because how young Hukporti is. I know he's played in the pro leagues overseas, but this is the league. And he might get in some foul trouble. So you need another guy that's not McBride to come in there. That's not McBride or Karl-Anthony Towns to come in there and play that rim protection defense. James Najee, hopefully, will be able to do that. So I'm very excited about what Mike Brown's going to do. And of course, as we said before, we're very interested to find out who the associate head coach is going to be because that guy is going to be in charge of the offense. And like I said, there's no shortage of offensive minds in the NBA. There's no shortage of them. So you should be able to find one. It depends on who Mike Brown is comfortable with. And he's been around the league long enough so that I'm sure he's got a plethora of people that he's very comfortable working with. So we'll see very shortly. But Summer League starts tomorrow for the Knicks. It's at 6 o'clock, so I'll be watching about an hour of it, maybe an hour and a half of it. That might be long enough to get through the game, but I'm gonna watch the game, at least start to watch it tomorrow, because I definitely want to see this summer league. To me, like I said, I'm more excited about this summer league than I've been in any summer league I can remember in the history of the New York Knicks. So this is gonna be very deep for me. So I want to see all of these guys do their thing. So like I was saying, we'll find out shortly, hopefully, who the new associate head coach will be, and that will be an offensive guru, somebody that knows how to take care of this Bentley. You'll enjoy your Thursday. So